Today we're doing the second episode in our special series focusing on how other industries can help influence the workplace. The first episode was on retail, today is on hospitality, and the next will be education. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time and your sunny energy.
My pleasure.
So yeah, if you could and give me a quick intro about who you are, what you do, where you're from, that would be awesome.
Okay. So I started my journey to Château 6 years ago. And it's about more than 20 years that I'm working in services. And I came to Château to work on marketing, communication, and digital. Well, I did that for 5 years. Before COVID, I wanted to change because it's so many years I'm doing that, and it's still very interesting. But I was very interested in a little thing we were starting to develop that is called now Château Inside, which was to put our knowledge in the workplaces. And so I told my president, okay, I'd like to try something on this. I know we have a lot of know-how on hospitality, and I'm sure we can do something for workplaces, mostly after COVID, because it was very, very difficult to have people coming back to the office and having. They had to match together again and to find a way to work differently, as we know now. But 2 years ago, it was like, okay, we feel that we have something to do. Now we're sure we must do something. Well, we started working on this topic, and now it's here, and we're going to talk about that, I guess, on how we can make hospitality in workplaces and make things change a little bit for companies and people.
So it sounds like you had kind of a similar thought to what I had months and months ago when I was first coming up with this special series of how other industries can influence the workplace. I thought, there's a lot of lessons that I remember learning when I was in retail design. I thought, the whole pathway that you take through a store and how it inspires you to buy certain things and how they entice people to come into the physical store. And I thought, I'm sure that other industries can do the same. And hospitality came up, you're taken care of in that kind of environment a little bit more than you would think of a workplace doing. And then also education spaces for how they do training. So tell me about how you started Château Inside.
Well, first I'm going to tell you how we started Château on its very
Start at the beginning.
30 years ago. I was not even born. Yes, I was. But,
let's both pretend that we weren't born yet, okay?
Okay, I was born, but I was not in Château at the time. And actually, the creator of Château was a teacher in marketing. And he was teaching services in the stores because he was working for our actual president, and he was his marketing director. And he was asked to teach perfect services in the stores.
Interesting.
So he was very, very keen on that kind of process, and it was like a philosophy to him.
Okay, an art.
A quest. And so he was teaching this in the hotel. And he had a very strong character. He was not character, but very strong
personality.
Yeah. Thank you. And once he came to our president and said, okay, I'm fed up, I'm done with that. I'm not teaching anything anymore because you're asking me to teach how perfect services should be done. And I'm going to a hotel. It's sad. It's awful. If you want to drink or if you want to ask for a pen, you have to pay. You have to pay for everything. I can't do it. I'm done. And our president said, okay, I hear what you say and you may be right, but you have two ways of doing this. Or you stop, or you're trying to imagine something different.
Yeah.
And the story says he came 2 days after. And he said, okay, I've got two bad news for you. First, you're losing your CMO. And secondly, I need 1 million francs to start the story. And well, you know the story as Château Farm is existing now. I started with his wife, so he had a nice place in the suburb of Paris. And you had the premises of what hospitality was, according to him, which was gentle people who just want to give pleasure to the people who are coming to visit
Make
them.
it easy for them.
Yeah. And it was what we call home away from home.
Okay.
And which is not very new now, but 30 years ago it was very, very
That was a new
brand
concept back then. Absolutely.
So you had a cook, a couple who is taking care of the place, and you had places only thought for companies, so very
corporate
places thought for business and for it was made for boards mainly at the time. And on the other end, you had places where you were feeling really like at home.
Okay, so there was a range.
Yeah, and it started like this. And 30 years later, we have 70 venues in 7 countries in Europe. We're doing 240 million euros. And that's our historical background. And 5 years ago, so we're working with big company, mainly international or coming from, as I was saying, CAC 40 or SBF. And 5 or 6 years ago, we had one of our major customers who came to us and said, okay, we really appreciate your way of, your philosophy of doing hospitality and the way you're working with when we're coming to visit you. And we would like to have a venue in our own premises, in our own office.
Using the same principles. So
we said, okay, we can work on this, and we start working on it, and he said, okay, it's absolutely tremendous. It's exactly what I wanted. The only problem is if I do it in one place, I will have to do it to all of the places if I don't want to have problems.
Make it consistent.
So we didn't do it. But another customer came to us and said, okay, I like the idea, I want to go through. And the first customer was Société Générale, which is a big French
Not
bank.
a bad client to have.
And that was the beginning of the story. The story was we were only taking care of the business centers.
Okay.
And as I was saying, that was 6 years ago. But we did it with all the way we were doing it in our former places. So you had a couple, a magic planner who is in charge of all the organization, a cook with his team was doing the food in the place, in the kitchen and so on. And it's still working very well.
And how do you guys manage quality? I mean, how do you make sure that everyone kind of steps up to this level of customer service?
Yeah, I'm coming to this because...
Okay, because I'm very curious how you make it consistent with that.
I'm just going to Château Farm inside how we expand. So we start after COVID. We still had this idea because we had a few names, but not that much, and the expansion was not amazing.
Okay, slow growth at the beginning.
Yeah, and I took the story. I said, okay, when we're in our own venues, we're taking care of absolutely everything from the very beginning when you push the door till the end when you go through with your. When you go away with your car. So why don't we do this in the workplaces? Because to me, it should be a whole experience. It's not just an experience when you're going to have a meeting in the building. You need to have a whole experience. Because
not everything will link up otherwise.
It's all linked up. As you were saying, when you're going to a store, it's every single thing is made to help you have a whole experience, and to me that's exactly what we do when we're in our venue. So I was thinking it should be the same when you go to your company or when you go to visit a company, and at the first time when you have contact with the first person at the desk, that should be like, whoa.
Yeah.
I can tell the personality of the company or
making that first impression. Yeah.
And we can say that so far it's not exactly what is happening when you're visiting a company or going to any
Not
building,
necessarily.
So I said, well, maybe we have something to do. That was the first thing. The second thing was regarding the food. In France especially, food was like mandatory.
Yes.
So you had, in a social point of view, you were meant to be able to give food to your collaborators.
Yeah,
but
in a cantine.
Yeah, the famous canteen.
Yeah.
Which was interesting, but not always good.
No.
It was convenient, but not always like, it was an experience.
It wasn't exactly inspiring.
But not the kind of experience we would like to experience every day. So, well, I was thinking maybe we have something to do on this point as well. And going through the story, we said, okay, we have the whole know-how to offer something maybe different. So, why are we different now? Because we have a managerial culture which is very specific. We have what we called a humanist culture.
Okay.
So what is a humanist culture, which is coming from Jacques when he created the company with Daniel Habitant, is that we are mainly focused on our collaborators, which we call talents.
Yes. I think I remember when I visited one of your locations, Mathieu told me a little bit about that.
Yeah. And because we are convinced that if our talents are happy, we'll have happy customers.
That's a great way to look at it. We actually just did a podcast episode, our last episode, and they were saying that for best practices all around the world, that was something that they had in common.
Yeah, so we call it the wheel of happiness.
Okay, great. So it's written in some kind of doctrine.
Yeah. You can find it in any documents talking about Château Farm culture. So the wheel of happiness is the very beginning, which is if our talents are happy, our customer will be happy.
That's very true.
That's one of the points. And the other point is also to say that we trust our talents and we work mainly on their autonomy.
Yes.
Which you can call empowerment or call it whatever
Absolutely,
you want.
Empowerment.
The empowerment is to say, if you have a customer, whatever your job is, and you feel you can do something to make him happy, just do it.
Yeah.
Don't ask if it's a matter of money, a matter of
your job description.
Description of am I able to do it? Just do it. Even if you make a mistake, never just forget
it can derail the experience. I mean, I've been to even some really nice restaurants before where I ask for something because the waiter's not around, and then the person says, "That's not my job. You have to ask somebody else." And I just think,
I just go like, "Oh."
I know it's not great. So you're totally right. It's about the details.
Yeah, and it's really state of mind to us, and it's a state of mind to have good hospitality experience. If you have people who don't wake up every morning to say, how can I make people happy at my job, or even their personal life. Actually, it's very often linked.
Yes.
But anyway, at least when they go to work, if they're not just like, okay, that's my mission. My mission is to make people happy. Whatever I can do, I can be imaginative, creative, whatever, that should do it.
Yeah.
And that's what most of the work we do with our leader is to help their talent work on that autonomy.
Okay.
How can I manage this? The second thing, to answer to your question, because I still have it on mind,
Good memory.
is to our main KPI is our satisfaction rate, our client satisfaction rate.
Client satisfaction rate, okay.
And all the company, we're 2,000 talents in the company so far. We get a part of our income on this satisfaction rate.
Okay,
Everybody
so you
from
have
the
an
very
incentive.
top, which is upside down to us, which means the steering committee, direction committee is on the bottom. Then you have what we call maison de famille, which is a family house. It's all the support services, marketing, finance, and so on. Then you have the maison, which are the venues. And then we have the customer.
Okay.
And the pyramid is this way, upside down.
Interesting. Okay.
And from the very bottom to the very up of the pyramid, we all have a part of our income which is on this rate.
So there's a variable that is based on
at one point,
performance.
If at the marketing or finance we're not delivering enough for the places, the venues, to make sure that they have all they need to satisfy the customers, it won't work.
Yeah.
So it has all to work in the same way, and we have all to work.
It gives you
the same
motivation
mission.
to do well. Yeah. Absolutely.
So this is more or less the way we try to do hospitality, and maybe we don't do it exactly the same way as the facility managers companies we can see on the market so far, because we're slightly coming from a hotel, but not totally, and we're not coming from facility management at all.
Right.
So we have a way of doing which is inspired from a hotel, but 100% dedicated to companies.
Yes.
And we're not coming from facility management where it's very job description, as you were saying. So, which is the exact opposite of the way we work, as we work on polyvalence. How do you say that in English?
Multi-disciplined.
Yeah, well, to say at least you're not just stuck in your job description. And that's what we call in our culture the family spirit.
Okay.
If somebody in the team has a problem, or you can help and you have finished your job, or even if you are not finished but you feel like it's more important to be there, just go there and help him. Don't ask questions.
And I have so many questions, and I'll get to all of the relevant questions, but how do you find these people? Because I feel like hiring is challenging for anyone in any country, but especially in what you're telling me right now, I feel like that's pretty rare to find people with these profiles. So how do you find them?
On the opposite, we see that actually we say that the new generation want autonomy. They want to have a mean in their job, or have an object, and feel a purpose. And, thank you. And that's exactly what we offer. So
it's actually not that hard for you guys to find the right
hard.
people.
It's not hard
right
to
talents.
find the people.
Sorry.
Because you say, okay, you're going to have a job that you like. We have also some things that can help. Is, for instance, you're not working on weekends mostly. You're not working too late at night times, because it's not like restaurants where you know when you start, but you have to stay till the
very end.
Last customer is finished. But in our places, usually after 10 or 11, they have finished and they go for a drink or for some karaoke. So it's a bit different for them, just in terms of
work-life balance.
Yeah, or work schedule.
Yeah.
And then we have this very specific culture where they feel we take care of them. They can find their own talents, because we help them to know in what they're good, and we help them to
Grow.
To grow on this. And more than that, we can help them to even change job if they don't like it. For instance, we have somebody who was in charge of finance, and now she's working in the human resources. So,
again, this is something that I've talked about with other people, but the idea of letting people evolve how they need to evolve, and taking this kind of unique business and how it's a little bit of hospitality, a little bit of workplace, and a whole mix of things. Letting people be who they need to be in their job, I think, is very important. This is a great lesson that we can learn from.
Talking about authenticity, and it's
exactly.
To me, working in a hotel, working in a place like Château dedicated to companies, or working in a workplace, it's not different.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same. It means when somebody is coming in the building, in a venue or in a hotel, just stand up and go to him and ask him why he's coming for and who is. We have an example I take every time I go and work to companies, and they say, "Oh, okay, we don't know if we should change the people the desk. We want." Okay, I say first, maybe you don't have to change, but maybe you just have to change your state of mind and the way the job desk. Because you're asking people to stay here all day doing nothing, just taking ideas and asking, okay, who are you coming to visit? And most of the time, just try to experience that. You come and you ask for the CMO, the president, or whoever who is just in charge of all the building, and they go like, "Who? Can you tell me the name again?" Oh no, sorry, I don't have the. No, you go like, okay, at least just take interest in the 10 people who are working in the place and that are visited at least, I can imagine, like 20 times a week. Just try to remember this name if you can't remember the rest.
100%. And another thing I wanted to bring up too, that I think, I know Château does really well, but in general, I think the hospitality industry is onboarding people correctly. It's something that workplaces really struggle with. And I've worked in a number of places. I can honestly say that maybe one did it right. And it's a problem because if people aren't onboarded properly, they're not really being shown what the expectations are, what needs to be done in which way. Could you talk a little bit about your onboarding process?
Yes, you have onboarding, definitely, but you also have, talking about this job specifically, make sure that they're not doing the same job all the time, and that you can offer other possibilities, which means, for instance, when we have the opportunity to take care of the whole building, is to say, okay, Monday, Tuesday, you will be at the desk, but after you could help in the stairs, or you could help at the restaurant, or you could work at the conciergerie, or so, just to make sure you can see different way of working. Otherwise, it's
and this is something that HR manages, or who takes care of that?
So, in our organization, when we take care of a building, we have what we call chef de famille.
Okay.
We're still in the family mindset, but
that's okay.
The family chef is in charge of the whole organization of his team.
Okay.
And that's also part of our autonomy, is to say we don't have we're not running a company of 2,000 people, unfortunately. We're running 70. We have 70 different places.
Right.
And each couple or chef de famille in charge of his place is in charge of his own company, more or less. So he's really focused on making sure that his talents are happy, that they're well on board when they're starting a job, that they know exactly if they're, when I say happy, we have, like, you know, when you go to visit a doctor and you have something painful,
Yeah.
he can ask you, okay, on from 0 to 10, what is your degree of pain?
Yeah.
We have the same for happiness at your job.
Interesting. Okay.
Are you happy between 0 and 10? Can you tell me how happy you are? And that can be a very simple tool just to understand how your talent is feeling and how you can help him to feel better.
So this is something you monitor on a regular basis?
Yeah, so we do it at least once a year.
Okay.
In our evolution meeting. And we call it evolution meeting, not because in French you have évaluation, et évolution.
Yeah.
Evaluation, evolution.
Yeah.
And we don't call it evaluation. We don't have to evaluate. We do it every day by talking, by
Sure.
saying.
You have a lot of feedback from managers, etc.
So it's more to say, okay, where are you now? Where would you like to be in 1, 2, 3 years? And how are we going to manage to help you?
You help with the career path, ultimately. Yeah. So they'll see, for example, somebody who is in a role and say, oh, I think they could really enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
And then they give them the responsibility of doing that activity.
Yeah, and most simply is taking care of the planning and making sure that the right people is at the right place at the right moment. And it can move very fastly, very easily every day.
Okay,
so
interesting.
That's part of, and he's the one who is in charge of the link with the customers in the building. So it can be the final client, final customer, or it can be from the asset manager or whoever is in charge. You see, you have so many different parts when you're in charge of building. So he will be the counterpart to discuss of all these aspects and protect the team and make sure we deliver.
So it's definitely very human focused from what you're saying. And would you mind maybe going over a couple different clients that you have with the Inside program? And how they've managed to improve their workplace by using your services?
So what is interesting as well is to understand that in our historical services, our historical venue, it was Château mainly, and we have, as you can see, a very strong culture.
Yes.
And for Château Inside, the challenge we have to face is to come with this culture, but to be able not to have it so strong that it's not going to undertake the one of our clients. So for instance, when we're taking care of Pernod Ricard University or Deloitte University, or some very famous cosmetic company, which I can't tell till September, but still, they also have a very, very strong culture, and they don't want to have Château written everywhere and everybody changing into the
you have to kind of
so
be present,
we have to find the right
yeah.
balance between both. And what is interesting is usually we're mapping our culture and the one of our clients. And we see where we can find
common grounds,
and where we can improve our talents with their culture. And in reverse, if we can give some
so you look to your clients to influence
through their talents. And for instance, for SNCF, which is the railway in France, it's a very how I would say ingénieur. How do you say? Engineering, thank you. It's very engineered focus. So it's not really in listening to people and very...
it's very technical and structured and
And when they ask us to take care of their university as well, we went like, whoa, or Deloitte, the same way. I mean, it's very, not technical, but it's not... Well, we could say it's not very human focused at the very beginning. But what was interesting exactly at this point is to map the different culture and see how the famous 1+1 give 3.
Okay.
And it happens because it works really well for SNCF, and they're so delighted because we're working on the university, and usually when the talents are coming to this place, it's their very, very first days at SNCF. So it's very important to leave something that will leave
a lasting
important
impression,
memories, and you see. And not being too much, because afterward they be on the ground and it should not be too different. But still it works. And for Deloitte, it's 4 years we're working with them on the university. And it should open in September. Okay. But it's 4 years we're preparing this. Sure. So it's very, very specific to their culture as well, and the way they want to have the experience they will live in the university. And what are some of the, I don't know if any of your clients have done this, but has anyone measured certain areas where their business has drastically improved because of your involvement, or? Yeah, well, it's always so difficult. I wish I could find a way to measure that, because I will sign every contract I'm working on so far. If you find a way, tell me please, and I will give you something, definitely. But even from a feedback, maybe it's not quantitative data, but it's qualitative data where people say, oh, this has really gotten better. Very often we ask us, okay, but finally, because it has a cost to offer hospitality in buildings and whatever, and usually the question is, okay, but can you tell me if it will really change something, and if it will be, if it will have some revenue on the what are the results? What are the results? So I don't know. I can't, because it's mainly focused on human, and what we're trying to work on is to make sure that people can come back to the office. That's one thing. So it's attracting people back. Yeah, we're really trying to work on the attractiveness of the company, of the building, if we're working for asset managers or whatever. But we have Célio with clothing. Clothing, French clothing. I don't know if you can find some in Europe actually, but it's very. I'm not sure, but it's definitely French. You have many stores in France, and they were doing very, very bad 2 years ago. They were about to close. I remember that, I think, And but still they say, okay, we'll try to do everything, also to invest in for our talents. And they ask us to take care of the food, the desk, and the animation in the building. Okay, so the public spaces and making sure they're being used, and And what the president said 6 months ago when we asked him if he was seeing a difference, he said, definitely if you were not here, I think my strategy wouldn't have worked. Yeah, that's great. Well, that's pretty good data to have, even if it's not a number per se. It's great feedback. And I said, okay, why? He said, it's very simple. Before you were here, people were not connecting, they were not meeting. They were not coming at the office anymore, and it's impossible to develop a strategy if people can't meet, and Teams is not enough to make sure that you have innovation, that you have connection, and that you have people that really are focused on doing something different for the company. And what are some ways that you were able to not only attract people to come back, but to get them to connect? What were some? So connection is one of our know-how, I would say. And that's exactly what our talents know how to do. So it's what we do it's 30 years we're doing that, is know how to create connection between people that might not have connected before, or they're connected all day, but they're not connected the right way. What we did day 1 will never be the same in day 10 and day 11 and in 2 years and in 3 years. And what we must improve every day is our satisfaction rate.
Yes.
And that's it. And for instance, on our historical activity, we have a 97% satisfaction rate, which is not just on 10% of our customers, it's 90% of the customers who give a feedback. So 90% of the customers are 97% totally satisfied.
Well done.
So that's what, and we are able to say that because we are on this capacity of improving and being very agile. So
yes, well, and I like the part that you said about, you know, being custom made to that person or that client, so that the experience is always different, because you have the standard, right, that you always want to achieve.
Exactly.
But maybe the way you get there is slightly different each time.
But of course, because if I'm working for Deloitte or for SNCF, or if I'm working for a big cosmetic company or for petroleum, or definitely they don't want the same experience. So as you said, they have a standard and they want to find the standard, but still they don't want to have the same way of doing things.
Well, and companies evolve, hopefully, right? You know, so
definitely.
you have to kind of evolve with that company.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I love that. So did we leave anything out? Are there any other things that you think that the industry, hospitality industry specifically, or that you at Château Forme do that we could learn from?
Well, it's not learned, but it's getting inspired. I know that it's difficult for the company to invest on that because we're talking about investments. I know it's difficult for the asset manager and all this part to change the line, and but everybody knows that the move is on, and it will go this way. So
definitely.
Fast or not,
it's happening whether or not people want it to happen.
So yes, you have, and we know that in the building and in the workplace, we're at the right cross of a hotel. You have education, which is changing, and as you were saying, the experience you have in the shops. So that's all this mix-up, which is very interesting.
Yeah, and I think different spaces are starting to combine over time, and it's
I
going to be less
wish I could
owned.
be 20 now.
Yeah.
And, coming to the office and say, okay, and would you like a coffee?
Yeah.
And what do you want for
It was different
lunch?
for us, right? It was a little bit different for us.
Well, so at least if I can do it for my child, I would be very happy to help and help the companies. But I think it's a nice way, and it's very interesting and very exciting to live this now. And,
definitely, and it's cool that you're part of the movement. So thank you so much for your insights, and it's been really interesting. And we could probably talk for another 3 hours.
Yeah, but can we say we go for a drink?
Yeah, let's go for a drink after. Exactly. Thank you, Anne, and I hope to have another chat with you soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Bye.